discussing a very important topic from data to insights by using AI-powered API. And it is quite important in terms of, let's say, if you have a tons of amount of data in your organization and how you can get the value out of data uh, using the APIs, data-powered APIs. And yeah, so either you are a business folks or tech enthusiast, so this session is for you. So thanks for watching this. Quick summary about myself. I'm Asif Waquar. I'm a solution architect at Munich. I'm also a Microsoft MVP. I do a lot of tech talks and events. Yep. This is today's agenda. I'll be discussing some of the data problems we have in today's life and how we can solve those problems with AI and with the data APIs, and what are the AI-powered data APIs, how these are going to solve the problems, how it can add the values, and what are some implementation best practices or implementation, how we can implement in your organization. So we'll see some of the use cases and the architecture, real-world use cases, and we'll also see that how we can, what are the risks we have with these AI, and if we are building such solutions, and how we can mitigate those risks. So let's start. So first, what is the AI-powered data APIs? I believe most of you having a lot of raw amount of data in your organization, and this is a very common problem around the all organizations. So we get a lot of amount of data, raw data, and to get out the value and the meaningful insights from the raw data is quite difficult because there are a lot of manual and repetitive tasks we need to perform to transform and enrich the data into available insights. And that's where AI-powered data APIs come into picture. So with the help of data APIs and having leveraging some of the AI capabilities, we can automate doing some of the workflows of having good data using some machine learning and natural language processing models. So for example, uh, you are having Google Maps, right? So what you do is you provide the instruction, you search for some locations, right? And that's why you are providing the data to it, and you are getting some insight, the fastest route. So this is how, because this whole ecosystem is built on API, and API adds some more value in terms of the integration and the scalability, and in terms of the fast performance. Yeah. So I believe some of you might be agree with this. Everyone has data, but only some have answers. Why? Because in today's life, we get a tons of amount of data from different sources, but those data is having a lot of different challenges, different type of challenges, which I'll be explaining in minutes. Yep. So only after solving those challenges, we can get some answers, But to get more valuable insights and valuable inputs, we have to do some automation and some of the leveraging the right technology for that. And yeah, so AI is not something new which we are talking today. It's been from couple of some time, but recently with the surge of Gen AI models, we have seen a big change. How our traditional AI used to be machine learning, computer vision. So you might be seeing your YouTube recommendations when you search for some videos, right? So you get some similar videos recommendation on daily basis. When you used to perform a search, some insurance company or maybe some travel agency will reach you out from the backend, and because they gets the data, and based on that, those data is saved and transformed and provided to the right party, so they can contact you by the ads, right? So you used to also get a route map recommendation. So we all using Google Map and some kind of map in our apps in day-to-day life. So this data was generated based on the existing content by classifying the existing content. So what the change now is we are generating a new content with the LLMs, large language models. Large language models are pre-trained models, which is trained a lot of amount of data, and it can means you can communicate with them with the help of natural language, like how I'm speaking with you. So that's how you can communicate with them, and you can get the value out of it. And that's where it generates a real advantage because uh, in terms of currently, previously, we used to provide data and they used to classify the existing data. But now what we are doing is we are speaking with them and they are learning from us. And also they are training the model. And because these are already pre-trained models, they have a lot of information. So they are providing the outputs, but they're also understanding our context, our information. And on top of it, they're trying to analyze and think out of it and giving answers like a human. So, so this is something different. So what are the challenges in terms of the data landscape we have and how we can solve these problems with the help of Gen AI and APIs we are going to build with that. When we talk about the challenges, there are a couple of them, right? So there are like data overload. It in as I explained earlier as well, right? Organizations receive a lot of massive amount of data but it remains it's not utilized effectively, and that's where the problems come into picture because we miss some opportunities, we takes the decision late, and we spend a lot of amount in terms of the storage cost. For example, just I will give you an example. I comes from an insurance background, right? We have data which is in Singapore. We have a data in other regions as well, India, and so what the insurers does is because reinsurance is a business where you get the data from the insurance company. So it might be a same client sending a data in two different regions and you are getting the data from two different sources. So someone is trying to generate the report. So they are generating the report in Singapore as well as they are generating the report in India. So it will be different reports, right? Because they will be doing analysis based on their own assumptions, own predictions models, and that's where the second problem comes into picture, right? Disconnected data sources, because we have a data relying on the different place of the world, different systems, and they are not connected with each other. And that's where the API capabilities come into picture because with the help of API, we can solve this problem. But so they spend, the teams spends a lot of amount of data, a lot of amount of time and doing the manual efforts and time consuming activities like data cleaning activities, analysis of the data, and they try to use some of the tools which is not the traditional, or maybe if they are not using the right approach, some of the traditional tools takes a lot of time to generate those reports or data from the data, right? And this data could be coming from different sources, could be missing fields, different formats, and it also you don't get real time decision support because we, most of the organizations which we have is we get the data sometimes via job, sometimes we run in the means like there are a couple of jobs running in the morning and we see a data ready in the morning, and there are few jobs filled so we don't have a correct data and we are relying the old data. So to solve these kind of problems and gaps and efficiency, what we can do is if we are trying to build a application using a capability of APIs and having LLMs on top of it, so what it can do is it can solve the problem of first problem. First problem it can solve is having an integration. So you don't means like you will have a data from the different sources from different world, and you can integrate easily. So you will have availability of the data in real time. Second, it will solve the problem because currently you are doing a lot of manual efforts, a lot of task which is repetitive and time consuming, and data cleaning activities which is not consistent in different regions. So If we are providing the data to the LLM, what it can do, it can analyze the data in a human as a human, and it can also work to clean the data and provide you valuable informations to, let's say, if there are missing fields. So it can tell you that, okay, these are the missing fields, these are the mandatory fields, but these are the missing information. So we can request to the clients and can generate the workflow for that. And that's how we are going to solve the problem with the help of APIs and data, leveraging the AI capabilities. So think, in traditional app, what we need to do is we have to design our data model. We have to design our API design and architecture. We have to do everything by our own self in a client app, right? Let's say you have a CRM application, or you have a .NET or Java application which you have built, or you have built the front end, you have built the back end, and you have built the whole APIs ecosystem and model, right? And but there are other teams which is working, in different regions or maybe in some different departments. They have also built the API in a structure and data model, but their API design and structure, because every developer will have their own way of writing the code. It is not consistent, right? So how we can solve the problem, make it consistent and make it standard to have a more governance control. So in that kind of, for to solve this guiding of gaps, the LLMs and APIs come into picture, because things like a Gen AI model, which is like Einstein sitting in your behind and giving all the answers that you're asking to them, right? So you need to provide instruction to the prompt. Okay, generate a data model having this information, tables, all this information, and it will generate your proper data model structure. Similar applies to the API design, right? So you can have a proper naming convention, you can have a standard API structure, and you can ask the LLM and it will generate you the code. It will generate you the standard folder structure, standard naming convention. So what the value we get with this whole API and Gen AI is, it is a prompt base. So app development. Second is it helps you to generate a new model, new APIs, standard functions to interact with your uh, data, right? So this is how we can say that app have gone smarter from traditional app to the Gen AI. This is the change which we are seeing. And let's see in action, right? Uh, so what are the things how we can solve? First is automated data ingestion and cleaning activities. So AI models can detect what are the missing values, incorrect format. Let's say in traditionally, what we do is when we get any raw data, for example, you are getting a data for claims purpose, and claims might have information like policy date. It also have the information like incident date when the incident was happened, right? So by looking to data with the traditional app, you can't classify, you can't tell the difference of that. But with the help of LLMs, so what it can do, it can understand as a human format, as a human, it can understand the difference and it can tell you this is the policy date, this is the incident date. And that's how we are, these are the capabilities which is going to solve our problems, right? It can also tell you this date format is not correct. So we have to, it can change, you can build our workflows to change the date formats for that. And this all they understand because we might be receiving the data from the clients currently in CSV or Excel format. But for example, let's say there is a requirement that client have to put all this information into Excel, and this is a very time-consuming activity. So what they can do is they can provide you the unstructured data, maybe in text format, or PDF format, or images, for example, for the claims, right? So let's say if there is any police reports for an accident of the car was filed and it was in a just a JPG format or the image format we have taken for that. So it can analyze those image format also, and it can convert this unstructured data to get those informations correctly and verify it. Based on the given data, it can also detect this is the fraud, or you know, I think this is a very usual case where the LLMs and data APIs come into picture to detect the frauds or based on the previous data. For example, in insurance industry, what we have is we analyze the data for the experience analysis purpose. So let's say uh, for past 7 years or past 10 years data, usually the actuaries and underwriters will do, what they do is they analyze the data, and based on 5 or 7 years data, then after that they develop their own prediction models. Okay, this is the trend. There are a lot of claims coming for the age group of from 45 to 60, and because of the problems like that, so based on those information, they adjust the prices of the premiums or claims. So that's how these models are, and the APIs are really helpful in transforming the industry, right? And with the help of API capabilities, because you can integrate with the other applications easily, and you can scale the applications very fast compared to others, right? For example, currently for the few applications, we are using the Cosmos DB application, right? Cosmos DB API. And the beauty of that is there was a requirement because the application was used in Singapore, and we had a requirement to have this application in other regions because our data model and structure and the data APIs was built in a way on Cosmos DB that we can replicate that whole data model into different regions in few minutes. And that was just with a few clicks. So this is how and expose the APIs to other regions, and it provides more better latency for to consume those APIs. And that's how this is adding the value to it. And what these APIs, AI-powered APIs does is also provide you real-time data. That's very important, at least for the financial transactions, right? To have instant alerts and making the decisions for it. APIs are, so I believe I have given a very brief context to how this AI APIs are in demand and taking in solving the problems in data industry, right? According to the Gartner research, 30% of the API increase will come from the AI tools and using the large language models by 2026. And as per the Bloomberg report, by 2023, 32, this market will be approximately 1.3 trillion. And 80% of the enterprise have used the Gen AI, or they are building the applications using the Gen AI by 2026. So, but we can see this evolution is a very faster than ever. Why? Because in traditional API, if you see in the graph, it took approximately 6 years to reach to the state of adoption of having in industry adoption until 72. But with the Gen AI, within just 1 year, it reached from 33 to 65. And there are a couple of reasons for it, right? Because in traditional API, traditional AI, we were building the applications, but it was a trial and error process because we were providing the data and we don't have enough data on the time. And those model works based on the data information because unless you don't, it's like a child, when it's growing, you are teaching him a one word, 2 words, 3 words, and that's how after some time he will start speaking a full line, right? So those models was similar to that because we don't have that much data, and for we training them and taking a lot of amount of, it used to take a lot of cost. First of all, the cost was high, so smaller organizations was not able to build a good models. And second was because we don't have enough data, quality data, because let's say if you don't have a quality data, means it's like a garbage in, garbage out. So the model will not be able to, will be very inefficient. It will not be good model, right? But with the help of Gen AI, because these are already pre-trained models and it interacts with the human, so adoption is very fast. We can now, any common man is using a chat GPT. Why? Because it's very flexible. With the app, you can just ask, few things and it will give you answer. For example, 2 days back, there was insect biting me, and somehow I got the picture of it, and I just asked the open AI that what type of insect it is because I can't identify by seeing that, and it gave me the whole history of that insects. What could be happen if you don't apply, some of the preventive measures for it, and that's how the things are changing. So let's see in action as example, right? So the point is here, if you've seen, right, this is like we are interacting as a common human with the AI model, and it can detect the image, it can detect the whole background, it can also do the sentiment analysis, what we are trying to do. And these all features was available with the traditional AIs. It's not it was not there because, for example, I was in Vietnam, and on the time there was a feature in Cognitive API in Azure to do a translation from image to text or image to. So I don't know the Vietnamese, and I was not able to identify what the menu is. I was trying to get use those apps and trying to understand the information what is written there. But now it is very simple. You just show via the camera, and you will be able to see and communicate with the AI model what it is and how you can proceed with that. So let's see in how we can implement these APIs, AI powered APIs in our solutions, right? So there are a couple of approach currently because there are pre-built AI services available with different cloud providers. I have taken example of considering Azure, but it could be AWS and Google, and I believe most of the cloud providers have standard similar APIs available, right? Output could be different, but yeah, the approach is similar. So you can use some of the cognitive APIs like pre-trained models, vision, speech, or language, and build an application on top of it. Second is you can build your custom APIs model and using Azure Functions or Lambda and deploy on Azure or AWS. And third is you can build your full app environment having a model deployed on that and expose the API and use, let's say you have a application built in Python or application built in React, but you are using a Python API and you are calling the Python API from LLM API using the Python model, right? Python. So that's how, and those whole application you can deploy it on as an app service on Azure or AWS, right? And another way could be, right, you have already machine learning services provided by the cloud providers. You can create on uh, Azure or AWS and open the endpoints. Like recently, Azure provided a service called Azure OpenAI, right? So we can create a Azure OpenAI uh, in AI Foundry, and we can expose the endpoints. This will be the another way of interacting with the ML models, right? And another thing could be, let's say, if you want to build a more governance model, more control over it, you can have interaction of your ML services, the API gateway. So it will provide you more robust infrastructure, more robust capabilities of controlling the APIs and having more security and governance process, right? And you can also build a workflow orchestration process. Let's say you are receiving the data from a different clients in a via the email. So what you can do is you can build a workflow extracting those email content, PDF, image, or any other information from that email, and build a logic app connector on top of it. And those data will be utilized by OpenAI. You can call the pre-trained models available in Azure, or what you can do is you can create an OpenAI in Azure and call those APIs directly using HTTP connector. And that's how once you pass the data to those OpenAI or pre-built model, it will give you the results as expected. And you can trigger an email or you can do a classification for that. Because recently, maybe let me give you example how we have done this workflow. There was a requirement because we have in there is a in insurance industry. So when there is an insurer and there is a reinsurer, so what they do is they means once they receive the data from the insurance industry, receive the data from the insurer. So getting those information of premium and claims, they have a standard contract that's called treaty. And what the underwriters do is when they are doing the renewal for the next year between the insurance company and the reinsurance company, so the previous year treaty information is taken into consideration, and they try to find the information what was earlier agreed and what's the now. So do we need to increase the premium rate or not? And this is a very basic use case which we have. And but those treaty documents are quite big and large, and to search those terms and those who have signed this and what type of information, it takes a lot of time. So even though we used to store all this information into a SharePoint, but and SharePoint provide a very robust search capabilities, but those information was not very enough for us to do this whole operation. So what we did is we built a workflow. So whatever the data we are receiving in a SharePoint, and we were reading from those document library and providing those informations to LLM. And what LLM used to do, they used to analyze as a human what was agreed previously and what is agreed now, what is the new terms and conditions, and what's the difference. And then it will suggest you based on your recommendation and context given what are the inputs or the prompts which we have provided to them to do. And that's how it'll after that it will generate the email and summarize the information and put it into another folder of SharePoint. So this was the complete workflow which we have built using the logic apps and APIs, right? So as I've given a couple of examples, I think there was one use case we are using this whole AI models and APIs workflow is insurance industry receives a lot of amount of data in terms of claims from different networks, from different agents. And this data could be a PDF format, this data could be a image format, this data could be a Excel, and according to the reports in general, hundreds of thousands of documents annually received in terms of the contract policies or other paperwork. And it takes a lot of amount of time and efforts for the underwriters who validate these claims to summarize this information, understand and process the claims. And sometimes it leads to delay, a lot of delay. Even though processing one claim could takes 2 to 3 months, and there are inefficiencies and gaps, because every person will take a decision based on the given information, and it could have inconsistent information. For example, when a typical car accident happens, so what police people will do, they will do their own handwritten notes or paperwork, and you know other thing that there will be medical reports, there will be a repairs cost. So with the traditional we are not saying that because there was an AI available already, the OCR technology was available. With the traditional OCR approach, what we used to do is they used to only extract the text from the given information, the PDF and image, and based on that information, it used to process and the next step. But OCR will not only solve the problem. So with the modern approach, the change is uh, now we have a complete workflow. So now with the help of OCR, we extract the information from a different documents in terms of for the policies and for the claims. But we pass this information to the LLM and we provide a prompt, a context to that what are the information we are expecting on out of it, and what are the outputs we need for that. And that's where this whole ecosystem uh, you know can make a difference, because now you have in place of human you have a LLM which understand the whole process as a human, and it gives you a results. So the underwriter work is who used to verify the claim earlier reduce. So so this whole thing works in a different steps, like how we are collecting the information, how we are ingesting this data with the help of APIs, and how we are processing in terms of validation, analysis, and so with the modern AI powered approach, so the touch is more human friendly, and that's the only thing changed from the previous traditional AI and the new AI solutions, and which is making a big difference because the adoption rate is much faster. So yeah, let me give you how we are doing in our current for the claims process in our organization. Basically, we receive the claims in a PDF format from arrives in an email attachments and in the data collection phase. And then or on top of it, we have built the logic of connectors, which extract the information from claims from the email, and it processes and saves the data into store blob storage, Azure blob storage. From there, we have a complete orchestration process using Azure durable functions. So what durable functions do is there is an orchestrator who manage all the Azure functions APIs, and it runs the jobs or operations one by one. Once like in the first phase, it will classify all these PDF or image informations and extract the contents from it, and this pass this data into JSON format. In the second stage, what it will do is with the help of OpenAI and the LLM evaluation model, it will summarize this whole information into a valuable outputs based on the given instruction via the prompt, and it will also check the quality of the data using LLM evaluation, right? And finally, this whole process will be monitored using Azure AI Foundry from the dashboards, and the final output will be saved into Cosmos DB. And that Cosmos DB, we are because it's a no structured, unstructured for the means like we don't need to have any structure in the Cosmos DB. The data can be saved in unstructured format, and that's the good thing because sometimes the claims data comes in a different format from different clients, right? And that was the reason having a Cosmos DB, because those APIs we can use in other applications. So the Cosmos DB APIs, which we have built on top of it, is used in different legacy applications as well. And we are generating the Power BI reports and visualizing this data for the fraud risk, and the a lot of informations is the claim, how the claims are coming for the experience analysis purpose for the pricing, and there are different types of report built on top of it. So this is a very useful workflow which we have built using LLM and leveraging the capabilities of whole API driven architecture or event driven architecture, what you can say. So with this, uh, report shows that the insurance industries have improved the process of claim by 70 to 60 to 70%. And previously, some claims used to take around 3 to 5 months, or sometimes 2 to 3 months. Now they can be cleared within a week. because and really because that's something we have seen in our process also, because there was a lot of amount of data which we used to analyze earlier, but now the information is less and more accurate. But with all this API and AI's solutions, mostly the AI solutions, Gartner report shows that although there are a lot of buzz of AI solutions, but it is like not very successful in some of the cases. Like some of the 87% of the data science projects never goes into production. It only stays with the evaluation phase or POC phase, or it never reached to the productions. And whatever the tools built during the time of COVID, it never deployed. It never helped them. So what was the reason for that? And because when we are building such type of solutions, so what we need is because currently we have a skilled resources shortage, because it's very new technology, every day evolving. Now we have seen Gen AI. If you see nowadays, agents are coming to picture and MCP servers are coming into picture. All these kind of new things are coming to picture, and there are a lot of uh, means informations around the world, which is so how we are going to adopt and it's make ourselves ready for it, because that depends people how people are trying to learn from it, right? So there is a shortage of the skilled resources, and data landscape is very big, because most of the organizations having data trillions of data, and they're processing in their systems, CRMs or different systems. So to make a good amount, means like quality data out of it is a really difficult task. So although the AI models could do a very small, means like small changes as of now, means, but when we are trying to make very complex or transformations, or trying to clean the data at very complex level, obviously we need to have more detailed research, and the APIs or transformations needs to be set up, right, using the API capabilities. And yeah, so again, it's also enterprise-wide capability. So this is something the leadership support, because currently, although we have a lot of new technologies, new features, but still the bigger organizations are reluctant to step into it, because there's a lot of changes coming into picture. So leadership support and vision is very important, because what the value we are going to get from this, and unless we don't find the ROI and the value out of it, will not be able to make a good progress. And again, it also depends on the team collaboration, how teams is working together. So how can we make it real? First, try to start with the small, understand the human needs. Then, because try to make it maximize value out of it, simplicity, and leverage some of the capabilities of AIs and APIs driven, because do with the small MVP, test with human context, iterate, because testing is very important in that, because currently we are relying AI models could be wrong as well. It's like not it always gives you the right results. So testing is a very important, and with your own data sets, having a RAG on top of it, your so in our organizations, how we do this API design for such applications is we define into several categories. Like first layer comes as experience layer, which is how we are exposing the APIs to the external clients or internal clients, and how we are doing the core process and developing the API documentation, authentication process, routing the data, and this last layer is system layer, which is our core system. It could be a claim system, policy management system. So these are the core layers. It could be legacy applications, it could be a cloud native applications, and these three layers. Considering these three layers, we do the design of the APIs, and so in case if any of the layer having issues, so it will not impact the others, and that's very important. You have to segregate You have to, do means segregation of your whole API design in a way that there should not be impact on others, right? We follow very simple API first strategies like design, test, and build because it's an iterative process. And once you do a design, follow some good capabilities of AI, standardize the process, naming convention, and design, then test it, build it, so you will get the right output. So these are some of the best practices I would try to summarize quickly. In terms of getting a scalability and performance, because what we do is uh, design the APIs considering few things: scalability, real-time ingestion, and integration, which is quite important because unless you are building an app, which is not scalable, there's no use because you can't make it because if the demand surges, right? So you will going to get a lot of problems. So prefer to do cloud native apps, cloud native services, because it helps you to scale your app and try to keep your API stateless. So at least you don't need to frequently hit the database. You can get the results faster and try to do async operations. So for the long running jobs, and real-time ingestion is very important because we are trying to get a lot of amount of data and how we are processing to the final stage. Because if the data is very old, there's no use of it. Uh, Try to build AI and ML integrations on top of it, so you have more monitoring and good capabilities, and you can get more better results and analyze the results much in better way. And obviously, security compliance and the architecture principles comes into picture because we have to consider APIs, secure APIs, because that's very important, considering the responsible AI principles. So it should not be vulnerable, right? And so we have to follow the best practices out of it, and following the architecture principle that we have considered a proper failure and observability. And in terms of the cost, it's not blowing your cost. For example, we have built a whole API driven architecture considering the Azure functions, and it was all API driven architecture, but Azure functions have a capability of auto scaling, and it can scale up to maximum 20 to 30 instances. And that's where, suppose you have a long running queries and you are scaling to 20 to 30 instances, you are going to get charged for it. So you have to design very carefully that how many instances you are going to scale, what is the expected cost you are going to get. So these all calculations you have to do earlier in while designing the APIs. So at least you will not get surprised in terms of the cost, right? So the few key takeaways when you're trying to build your APIs, APIs is you try to wrap it with the AI models, so you get a real-time delivery insights faster compared to the offline analysis, and it will help you to improve the process faster by leveraging the AI services. Build the workflows, because only if you are trying to automate each and every process, it will never work. Because let's say if I am trying to build solutions just only using OCR technology, so we are only going to get the text out of it, but how we are going to utilize it, it's a different case. So try to build a workflow so you can use those informations in a right manner, right? And before designing this whole solutions, we need to test how this model output will be used and what's the right system and person for this, right? Leverage cloud and open source technology, because that's the world is very big for the cloud and open source technology, because there are a lot of good services available by different cloud providers, everyone having their own pros and cons, and try to use open source technologies, because they are filling the gaps which cloud providers are not providing, and sometimes it's very really helpful in terms of that. Follow the best practices considering three factors: scalability, MLOps, and security. Because unless your solution is scalable, you are not going to get a good value out of it. If you are building with the help of MLOps capabilities, you are going to get a human touch. You are going to solve the problem more quickly as a human. And unless your application is not secure or you are not following the governance policy, there's no use of it. Yeah. So I think this is thanks for watching this. Definitely, if you have any questions, you can reach me out via Twitter, LinkedIn. I'm active everywhere. Yep. Thank you.